Hi, this is Traci Harrell, and I am here in my garden. These are real lilies. And I am so excited. I am here with the advanced reader copy of book number one. Book number one of 5 books. Five that I'll be publishing in the next 6 months. 3 of the books are compilation books, part of this international best-selling series called Ignite. So the first book is called Ignite Happiness. And today I'm going to read you my story, Ignite Happiness. The next book I'll be involved in is called Ignite Your Inner Spirit. I'll tell you more about each book later. The third book is called Ignite Possibilities. So exciting. So exciting to think about the amazing feats that I'm going to tackle as a part of that book. The third book is a solo project, and it's called Loving the Journey and Living the Dream. It's the exploration of the art and the science of being aware and actually getting there. Getting there meaning accomplishing any and every goal in your life and enjoying the journey along the way. Loving the journey and living the dream. That's the solo project. And you'll hear a little bit of each of those, in the 3 books prior, the compilation books, and Ignite Happiness, Ignite Inner Spirit, and Ignite Possibilities. Those 3 books are building up to what you're going to read in the solo project. It's very exciting. It's very, very exciting. The 5th book is a compilation book that I'm pulling together myself of writers just like you, of individuals who have a passion for equity and inclusion. And that book is called How to Become Visible. It's going to be basically a documentary of an initiative that I'm leading called the Bigger Than Me Success Series, achieving racial equity and inclusion in business, education, wealth, and health. So I have a lot to share with the world. And like Brene Brown says, the stories that we own, we get to write the ending. And the stories that we don't own us. And so I'm excited today to read to you from the advanced reader copy of the book called Ignite Happiness. And what I love about Ignite Happiness, I'm just going to read you a little bit from the prologue. It's really special. This particular book says it's a collection of magnificent moments told by authors of all ages. They go on to talk about it's deeply authentic, unfolding as the writers describe it, honest and from the heart. Most of us are simply dedicated to sharing our stories in a way that will inspire more happiness in others, everyone else on the planet. This is our gift to you. And storytelling they talk about in this book has really been around for ages. And what's exciting is, it brings forth laughter, joy, understanding, a human connection. All of these are created through this process of writing and telling your story. Whew. Each story has a couple of things. Each story has a power quote, which is really an inspirational, self-activating proclamation. Here's what we know and here's what we do. It's a phrase that's designed to get you thinking and questioning various ideas and then moving forward in your own amazing way. Then we actually have very clear, again, the storytelling is there. But then what I love about each story is at the end, each story has action items. Most importantly, they're building a conscious realization as you transform, as you're more inspired, as you build profound happiness. That's what this book is all about. I could tell you more, but I'm just going to get right into my story. And my story starts on page 70 of this book. What's really exciting is that I got to tell a story that this is something that I really didn't even talk about for myself. And so as this story came along, it was just perfect timing for me. So I'll get right to it. This is my story. My name is Traci Harrell, and this is from Ignite Happiness. The title of my story is The Power and Joy in Our Bigger Than Me Moments. My power statement is stay true to your core values and tap into your bigger than me moments. Each story also has an intention. And my intention is that you will embrace the journey of life fully with the expectation that happiness is your birthright. Happiness is your your baseline state of being. It is who you are at your core. Happiness is the greatest gift that we can ever give ourselves, and we have an endless supply. No matter what is happening in your life, and let me stress, no matter what is happening in your life, despite any ups and downs, the power of happiness awaits you at all times. It is yours for the taking. It is yours for the awakening. All right, let's get to it. The story, the power and joy in our bigger than me moments. The last 3 years have been the most terrifying, traumatizing, dehumanizing, minimizing, sometimes belittling, often numbing, saddening, maddening, and downright awful of my entire 50 years of existence. I experienced fears even worse than dying. During the same time period, I've also experienced what I can easily describe as the most liberating, optimizing, energizing, redemptive, sometimes restorative, often therapeutic, meaningful, transformative, and downright joyful years of my life. I have experienced happiness greater than I ever imagined. It was awful because I was forced to come face to face with some of my greatest fears and my deepest insecurities. You know, the fears and insecurities that you don't typically share with others, the ones you barely want to admit to yourself. It was joyful because I had the opportunity to get to know myself on a deeper level, and I was challenged to reconnect with my core values. This allowed me to tap into a wellspring inside me that grounded me and allowed me to flourish. Despite a series of unending challenges, I consistently rose to the occasion and exceeded my own expectations. This is the story of my triumph, overcoming my fears, and in the process, becoming a better woman for my troubles. One of the deepest fears that I carried with me through childhood and into adulthood, although I hid it well, was the fear of being different. This fear grew poisonous barbs inside me like a sea urchin, all sourced from the same core insecurity. These painful barbs included the fear of not being accepted, the fear of not fitting in, and the underlying fear of not being successful because I didn't fit in. The toxicity from the fear of being different sometimes led to the lonely fear of not being loved, and the more dangerous fear of not being lovable. Now, I've always been different. My differences are a blessing and a curse, but I am what I am. Once I accepted that I was different, I started putting those fears and insecurities behind me, or I buried them somewhere, and I tried not to let them control me. I've always been taller, darker, bigger, bolder, and louder than those around me. Fortunately, I was also generally happier, funnier, and smarter than the average bear. I was often bullied while growing up. I was called names like Tar Baby and Count Blackula because of my dark skin, my dark hair, and my dark eyes. In the media, blonde hair and blue eyes were considered beautiful, and clearly I could not meet that mark. But I knew I was special. I was always striking a balance between feeling different and feeling amazing. I knew that I was meant for something great. I believed that my purpose in life was bigger than me, and there was something quite comforting in that. The first time I recall tapping into the power of my inner superhero and embracing a bigger than me moment, I was in Florida as a young girl riding home on the school bus. The bully was there. Judy was her name. And she was causing havoc as usual. Whether she was bullying me or someone else, I typically tried to ignore her. I had stuffed my feelings and suffered in silence for years while I was getting teased for being different. I knew that bullies seemed to go harder and deeper on the abuse when one would show an emotional reaction or respond in any way. So I had learned to just take it in silence. I stifled my feelings and just held everything in. On that day, Judy had been at the back of the bus, yelling at some young girl who was seated in front of me. The girl was new. I didn't even know her name. Judy had been saying some awful things to her and was threatening to get her when we got off the bus. The young girl was clearly upset, although she didn't turn around or make a sound. I could see her rapid breathing, her shoulders lifting in sequence with the faint sound of whimpering. I had a feeling inside of me that I can't describe as anything other than an out-of-body experience. My inner superhero took over, and my first bigger-than-me moment was born. I stood up, turned around, and said, "Judy, enough." She was shocked. So was I. She said, "What?" I said, "Enough. If you want to fight someone, fight me. Let's do this. I'm sick and tired of you picking on everyone. This must end." Judy laughed and said, "Really? Who's going to stop me? You?" I replied, "That's the plan." Now, full disclosure, there was no plan. What happened was there was one of my core values, justice. It just had swelled up inside of me, and I could feel it bursting out. I had to stop the bully. In that moment, in that bigger than me moment, I knew what I was seeing was wrong. It just wasn't fair. And I had to stand up for myself and all the other innocent kids who had been bullied for so long. As I walked off the bus that day, I felt so proud and strong, so courageous. I felt like Wonder Woman, with capes, the boots, and all. I stepped off the bus onto the sidewalk and laid down my backpack. I wasn't afraid, even though I didn't know what I was doing. This was my first fight. Whatever the outcome, I definitely was not going to let Judy beat up on some other little girl. To make a long story short, I got my butt kicked that day. All I remember was the first punch in my face, crushing my lip against my bottom teeth, causing a warm pool of blood to form in my mouth. I recall wearing a soft white shirt and seeing a stream of red blood, bright red blood, pour down the front of my blouse as I lowered my head. I generally have a really bad memory for negative things, but on that day, I remember feeling both scared and excited, both at the same time. I was standing up for what was right, and that felt great. From what I'm told, I may not have even thrown a single punch that day, but the victory was in being true to who I am. I had stood my ground, and I had never felt more proud or more fulfilled. I had done the right thing. It was an amazing, bigger than me moment. I will never forget that feeling like a champion on that day. I had stood up for myself and had taken a stand for justice, and that was such a rewarding feeling. That experience changed me forever. I learned what it felt like to be true to my core values. That feeling has never left me, and it sustains me even to this day. I realized that once I understood my core values and could be true to who I am, whatever actions I take will be the next right actions for me. From that moment on, I relied on my core values and my bigger than me moments to serve as my source of peace and happiness. I now try to listen to my inner voice and tap into my inner superhero as often as I can. For major challenges and for little things like resisting a piece of pie or repelling someone else's negative mood or abusive actions. Try it. It works for everything. Now, I believe that happiness is my baseline state of being. It is who I am at my core, and I will fight to maintain that inner peace at all costs. And the cost is free. It's free for you and me. All you need is a little courage and conviction. Happiness is yours for the taking. Just awaken to the possibilities. No matter what occurrences or circumstances happen in your life, the power of happiness awaits. It awaits you at all times. We activate happiness by pausing to breathe and tapping into our core values. It is the most effective way to help guide our actions. The rewards are valuable and the applications are endless. Now, I'm not saying that I haven't been bullied since that first bigger than me moment when I found my inner superhero. To the contrary, the next transformative experience that I'll share with you also involved a bully, just a different type of bully. And more than 35 years later, I was now more confident and I was equipped to handle most challenges, although I did still have a lot to learn. I had experienced many bigger than me moments since my first one, and my practice of happiness was ingrained in who I am. Knowing the true source and power of happiness throughout this time had kept me focused on the positive and feeling like I could overcome anything. Then, one day, everything changed. The day I got fired was the happiest day of my life. I was shocked and transformed. The 3 years leading up to that moment changed how I felt about myself and the world. This journey started with me moving across the country from Florida to Seattle for an exciting job opportunity. My first year with the company went amazingly well. I was thinking outside of the box and solving one challenge after the next. I was confidently accomplishing complex projects, and I was building partnerships and getting credit for the work that I did, as it should be. At the end of the first year, I received a large financial bonus, as well as major kudos and awards. I also received sincere compliments from my leader. He said, "You are amazing. You have superpowers. You have multiple superpowers. Sometimes I can't even keep up with you." He said I was doing all the right work and that I would be rewarded handsomely if I could apply this new process and system, which I had developed, to more of the programs in the coming year. That, of course, was exciting to me, and I enthusiastically charged forward, fully believing that if I worked hard, I would be rewarded for my efforts. My work was great. The results were tangible and undeniable. And I believed that I would receive what I had earned, as promised. The second year of the project wasn't just a regular work experience for me. I desperately needed to ensure that I would get the promised financial bonus because I wanted to use it to pay for a medical procedure that would save my brother's life. Tony, my oldest brother, was a veteran, and he had terminal cancer. He had been told that an experimental procedure was possible, but it would not be covered by the Veterans Hospital. I knew that with that bonus, I could pay for his medical procedure and save his life. What a blessing, I thought. How cool that I'm in a position to help in this way. And I happily shared my excitement with Tony and his wife, Renee. I knew that all I had to do was complete the project and I would receive the bonus to save my brother's life. As the end of the second year approached, I was feeling tired but excited and satisfied in the knowledge that I had completed the work and exceeded what was asked of me. My bonus was imminent and Tony could have his procedure. Then came the day of my year 2 review. A new leader had joined the team a few months prior, and apparently he changed the rules. He didn't recognize the work that I had clearly completed, and the bonus, the big financial bonus that I had understood to be my compensation, was no longer coming my way. I was shocked. Actually, I was devastated. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Another bully? A big corporate bully. They had all the power. I sat there in the chair looking stunned. I was feeling disgusted, betrayed, belittled, confused, minimized, dehumanized, taken advantage of, diminished. I felt violated. I had poured my heart into that project. I called it EARL. EARL, the Eligibility Automated Review List. It was my baby, and it was awesome. I designed it, I developed it, and I delivered it. By all measures of success, I had exceeded expectations both operationally and strategically. The corporate bullies decided they wanted what I had, and they were going to take it. I sat there feeling worthless, shocked, powerless. Basically, he said I just didn't fit in on his team. Well, I was different. I can give him that. But I was also amazing. I had just accomplished what they said could not be done. I was truly traumatized. But I couldn't feel those feelings yet. Bottom line, I did not get credit for the work I had done, and I did not get my bonus. My brother Tony did not get his life-saving medical treatment. And sadly, and most devastatingly, he died. I couldn't believe it, but I couldn't react. I didn't know what to say or do, so I did what we were told to do. Show no emotion and soldier on. No crying aloud. When I tapped into my core values of justice and progress, I found strength and comfort. Armed with my superpowers and in Tony's honor, I focused on how to defeat this corporate bully. Given my lack of institutional power, I believe that the only way for me to find justice for the loss of my brother would be to train my leaders and the organization in the areas of equity and inclusion. I wanted to prevent the injustice of what I had endured so it wouldn't happen to anyone else. I didn't allow myself the time or the energy to focus on my sadness. Instead, I focused on trying to make things better. I poured myself into helping the company make progress with our equity and inclusion initiatives. I wouldn't allow myself to name or claim the feelings that I had at the time. The only thing that brought me comfort was the idea that this was bigger than me. This was a bigger than me moment. This was an opportunity for my 2 core values of justice and progress to unite with a passion. I could make things better. I could create a culture where fairness and justice were applied equally to everyone. For 3 years, I tried. I continued to allow these corporate bullies to abuse me. I never fully recovered from the trauma and broken promises, and yet I found myself empowered to push through and to try to make a difference. Each time I felt vulnerable about an insecurity, or terrified due to a lack of trust, or devastated by another unjust outcome, or anxious about next steps, I just tapped into my core values. I found happiness in my bigger than me moments. I knew that everything was happening to me because someday I would inspire a change to help others. That idea made me more powerful and more resourceful. I continued to push back on the corporate bully with mild demands. I was happy and committed, believing I could drive positive outcomes for others, even though I was still personally traumatized. As I focused on my new adaptive leadership, equity, and inclusion initiative to stop corporate chokeholds, my leadership was supported, in theory. They agreed that the principles of equity and inclusion were sound, but they weren't sure how to implement it, or they just didn't have the will to change. I believed that these were good people. I thought that they just didn't know any better, and I did not want to give up on them. On the day of my year-end review during year 5, I opened the door to the meeting room and I was shocked as I saw the HR manager with a package of documents on the table. I knew that I was in a termination meeting. These corporate bullies had broken my trust, but instead of feeling broken, I truly thought I could make a difference. I believe I did in some way, but I couldn't save my brother. And clearly, I was being fired, so I couldn't save myself. Halfway through the termination session, my eyes full of tears, God reminded me that this too was a bigger than me moment. I exhaled a slow, long breath. I wiped away my tears and I smiled. I was transformed. It really was a breakthrough moment. I started to feel my feelings for the first time, to feel my feelings fully for the first time. I could now name it and claim it. I felt relieved, happy, excited, proud, courageous, and calm. It was amazing. I actually smiled my way through the second half of the termination session. I realized that I was experiencing a divine moment. It was like another out-of-body experience. I was crying. Now I was crying, but I was crying tears of joy while I was being fired. All the feelings I had repressed and suppressed for so long had now broken free. I cried for my brother, whom I couldn't save. I cried for all of the other injustices and for all the unfelt feelings. It was such a catharsis. I could barely read the papers through my tears. They were warm, sweet, refreshing tears that ran down both cheeks and into my mouth. It was in that moment that I remembered how the blood had pooled in my mouth when I faced off with my first bully. Facing this corporate bully felt even more rewarding. Whew, what a relief. What a victory. I was alive at that moment. Nothing was held back. No feelings would ever be held back again. I was so grateful for that breakthrough. I felt happiness beyond my wildest dreams. For the first time, I was experiencing pure bliss. Now, once again, the bully had won the battle, but I had the ultimate victory. Joy, pure joy, prevailed. I was standing up for what was right, and that felt great. I had stayed true to my core values of justice and progress, and I relied on my bigger than me moments to serve as my source of peace and happiness. I didn't have to find happiness. It was waiting for me to let go and just be. For the first time, I had permission to just be me. My full, authentic self. This was a let go and let God moment. This was a Jesus take the wheel moment, a bigger than me moment. It was clear that God had a plan for my life, a beautiful one. I could just pause and be blessed, and He would take care of the rest. This was the moment when I realized that happiness is not just a choice. It's not really a choice at all. It's a state of being. We can just be happy. No matter what is happening around us, we don't have to choose it. It's already chosen us. We just have to take down the walls and open up our hearts. The process of receiving the power of happiness simply requires us to just pause and accept it, expect it, and let it wash over us. Let it in. Do nothing. And in that nothingness is your bliss. Happiness awaits you. Awaken to the possibilities. The end. Oh, how exciting. Now, at the end of each story in Ignite Happiness, authors have identified what we call our Ignite action steps. So it's my pleasure to share with you my Ignite Happiness steps. Happiness surrounds you. It's like the air that you breathe. You can't see it, but it's there for you. Pause and just take it in. Simply focus on the positive and embrace pure joy in all that you do. If you find your level of happiness diminishing or your mood shifting, you can quickly rebalance by reconnecting with your core values. There is a knowing that will guide you with peace and joy as your pathway to staying true to yourself. Happiness is your most prized possession. Guard this precious gift closely. Others can't write your story. Don't let the words or actions of others take you off course. Activate your inner superhero by doing what superheroes do. When they see a bigger than me moment or encounter a need greater than themselves, they immediately leap into action. Happiness is yours when you tap into your core values and use that peace and that energy to quickly take the next right action for you. In moments of stress and trials, you can immediately shift to a bigger than me mindset by tapping into your inner superhero to stay aligned with your core values. Hummingbird. Slow breathing is key to the shift. Take 4 slow inhalations and exhalations. Each time you inhale, visualize the blossoming of your truth. Ignite your core values. from deep inside your mind, your body, and your soul. Each time you exhale, say to yourself, it's bigger than me. It's all bigger than me. In these bigger than me moments, you can immediately amplify your personal power to produce happiness at will. You can manifest happiness and all of your desired outcomes by tapping into the power of your bigger than me moments. You know what to do. You've always known how to ignite the power of happiness. The instructions for your truth and your peace were planted like seeds inside of you from birth. It's what feels good, what feels right, deep down in your soul. You don't think about it, you just do it. You just know. You automatically know what is good for you and good for the universe. Use the power of happiness to love every step on the journey of life while staying focused on living out all of your dreams. Uncover a limitless wellspring of joy, peace, and love until happiness reigns over you like the nurturing shower on a spring garden, flowing to you, through you, and to all those around you. Embrace your personal bliss. Nourish the seeds of joy inside of you each day and moment by moment. True and sustainable happiness is within your reach. Believe it and you can achieve it. Just pause and unleash the possibilities. Thank you. Written by Traci Harrell, United States of America, President, It's All Bigger Than Me Consulting, Founder and Reverend, It's All Bigger Than Me Ministry, focused on positive psychology. It's a ministry of the mind. Producer and host of Bigger Than Me, Action TV, YouTube, and podcast. Author of Loving the Journey and Living the Dream. And movement lead for Bigger Than Me's Success Series, achieving racial equity and inclusion in business, education, wealth, and health. My website is www.itsallbiggerthanme.com. Now, the last part of this story that's inside of Ignite Happiness is, for several of the stories, she asked us to produce an activity. So, since I'm in my garden, and I am a bit of a flower child, these are real, and they smell so good. My activity is garden related. It's called the Happiness Vision Board Activity, and it's called Nurture Your Seeds of Possibility. And in the book, there's 3 pictures of beautiful flowers. Beautiful flowers. And the project is to use this space to draw a picture and build a vision board of how you plan to nurture the seeds of happiness inside yourself, to bring everything you desire to life. So if you can picture 3 flowers, each flower has a stem, a center, and petals. So first I'm asking you to think about focus areas. So I'm saying label the stem of each flower with an area in your life that you want to focus on to manifest more happiness. You can draw in new flowers to fulfill all your dreams and desires. When I say focus areas, I mean things like relationships, career, health, home, family, finances, spirituality, education, social, travel. For me, weight loss is an example of one that you could identify. The first step is identify focus areas. Where do you want to bring in more happiness? The second step is identify core values. Identify which of your core values are most important to you in each area of your life that you want to bring more happiness into. Label the center of each flower with 1 to 3 core values. For me, my key values are justice, progress, achievement, adventure, balance, connection, community, contribution, faith, knowledge, love, and service. Find your core values. And again, you can fill in your core values after you complete step 3. Step 3 is identify action steps. So for each of those focus areas in your life that you want to bring more happiness, identify specific steps that you will take each day to manifest more happiness and to fulfill your dreams. Inside each flower petal, write one action or step that you will take. Now, your happiness vision board, your happiness garden, your floral pictorial of a vision board should be an iterative and evolving activity that you enjoy cultivating to nurture your seeds of joy and your seeds of possibility. That's it. This is Traci Harrell. It was my pleasure to share my story in Ignite Happiness. If you want to take an example, my happiness vision board, STEM number 1, is physical fitness. Losing some excess weight, shedding some excess weight, I'll use that term. The core values for me that relate to that particular area, focus area, I would say it's progress. I do want to see progress, achievement, faith, and love. Those are the things that are going to drive me to accomplish this goal and to bring more happiness, to accomplish the goal, to love the journey while achieving the dream. So I in writing this story and coming face to face with my own truth, I found that I love myself so much more and I don't need validation from anyone. That's huge. Faith, my body's a temple. That means eating healthy food and exercising. That's biblical. I absolutely should be doing that. That's a core value that will motivate me to bring more happiness to accomplish this particular goal. And if I think about the petals, again, we said in each petal, write an action step. So if you can imagine a flower like this, like the ones pictured here, have about 6 petals. You could have 10, you could have 5, whatever you decide, right? For me, weight loss is pretty simple. I didn't say it was easy, but I did say it was pretty simple. So inside, I talk about love and faith, connection. I think it'll help me to connect even more with others, achievement and progress. I'm excited about this journey. The steps that I'm going to take, that I'm writing inside of each petal, the action steps, are things like eating more healthy. Stop eating sugar, processed foods. Drinking lots and lots more water. Being more physically active. Being intentional about my activity. And thinking differently about my beliefs. Practicing a different belief system. I used to think that rewarding myself with food was one of my key success strategies. I call this a success sack. So I'm going to turn my success sack into a 6-pack. If I used to think that eating, grew up relatively poor, so I used to say to myself, I used to believe that, when I grow up, I'm going to be able to eat whatever I want, whenever I want. That was my definition of success. Well, it also brought me happiness. So over time, you can really reshape what happiness means to you. So for me, as I move into this next phase of my life, I'm thinking about happiness and success very differently. Success means I make wise choices. I cherish my body as a temple. I make sure I consume live, whole foods. I treat my body like a temple. I think about what I'm thinking about. I don't use food to numb negative feelings. It kind of combines with my Ignite story because I really wasn't feeling my feelings prior to really even writing this story. It was a whole part of a catharsis for me. I had the feelings, I had the experience, but I got to tell you, it's been a journey, and it's been an amazing journey, So what it allowed me to do is really start to feel my feelings, which are kind of combined with stuffing your feelings, which is one of the things I used to do. I used to get straight A's, like I said, all the time. And so I'd go out and get treated to ice cream with my mom. At the end of the day, this is Traci, and it's all bigger than me. The screen went dark, so I'm not sure if I'm still recording. Okay, I do kind of see myself. This is Traci Harrell, and it's been my pleasure to share Ignite Happiness, to share my story and Ignite Happiness. It's my hope that sharing my story will in some way motivate you, will bring you joy, and will help you to ignite happiness in your life, to tap into your core values, to really, really recognize that you have the power. Those bigger than me moments, to find those bigger than me moments in your life where you too can ignite happiness in your life. This is Traci Harrell. It's bigger than me, baby. Ignite happiness in your life. Thank you.